Welcome to the Mobile Workforce Podcast, where we sit down and have real conversations with business leaders that have been where you are. During these interviews, we'll dive into what it takes to improve systems and champion processes that maximize performance. Each week, our trailblazing guests share their experiences and understanding of the workforce to help inspire change, challenge our thinking, and share what it takes to successfully travel the road to profitability. Now here's our host, co-founder and chief evangelist of About Time and WorkMax, Mike Merrill.
Hello and welcome to the Mobile Workforce Podcast. I'm your host, Mike Merrill, and today we are sitting down with Keyona Wells, a virtual design and construction technology professional. And if that isn't cool enough, Keyona is also a freelance drone pilot. So we're really excited to have Keyona on and talk about her wealth of knowledge in all aspects of virtual design. And although we could spend a whole day exploring the world of drone technology, we'll focus in on a few things that hopefully the listeners will find helpful. Keyona is going to share with us what it takes to start and train as a pilot for drones, and also what using a drone looks like on the job site. We'll also be talking about her experience in construction and also talk about how she feels the industry is evolving. So hello, Keyona, and thank you for joining us on the podcast today.
Thanks, Mike. Happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, I guess first of all, I have a lot of questions, but to start out, what made you want to be a drone pilot?
Oh gosh. Well, I picked up my first drone on a construction site actually about a little bit over a year ago. So that was kind of my first introduction to actually flying unmanned aircraft. But if we go back a little bit further, I actually worked on like underwater submersibles in high school. I almost kind of forgot about that, but yeah. So we it was part of like a robotics competition where we built it, designed it, and then we spent so much time building and designing it that we didn't really get to test it out very well. But it looked really cool and it did function a little bit. So
right, awesome. Well, that's cool. Well, obviously, there's that kid in all of us that wants to be a drone pilot. Everybody sees a drone. Every time I see a drone, I'm like, oh, I want to do that, right? Everybody seems to want to do that. But on a more serious note, like if somebody's really going to put that on a resume, if they want to truly work in a field that they could use that kind of skill, what kind of background or what can they do to try and launch into something successful with that?
Yeah, well, with drones specifically, there's a certification process that's here in the U.S. It's called the FAA Part 107 exam. That exam basically gives you a license to fly in commercial uses in the United States. And so that would be the first step in order to fly a drone, say on a job site or any type of commercial use there.
Okay. Is it like an online class or a course, or how do they go about taking that?
So the course is offered in person, and there's no mandatory courses that you have to take in order to pass the exam. But there are institutions out there that do offer training to get you up to speed on all the regulations and things you need to know in order to pass that exam. And I would definitely recommend going that route. You can study on your own. It's just a little bit more cumbersome because you're filtering through a lot of resources, a lot of YouTube videos and helpful things like that on the internet. But yeah, I actually had the privilege of taking a class through an online institution and was able to really study for it that way, and then did some self-learning on my own, and then able to pass the exam. I think I got a 93 or something on it.
Wow, nice. Cool. Well, is it expensive to get that certification or take the exam?
The certification, no. I've seen it from $130 to $160. It depends on the location and where you take it. So I'm in Raleigh, and I took mine at an institution at the airport, so RDU International.
Okay. In Raleigh-Durham, North Carolina, right? Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Well, so with that process, obviously online, you're not going to learn how to fly a drone, or you're not going to have hands-on experience. So what does it look like to go from liking the idea of certification to getting certified to actually being able to successfully fly a drone without crashing it?
Yeah, I definitely recommend getting some professional training. Um, Obviously, not everyone does, because all that is required in the U.S. is you have that Part 107 license to fly commercially. There are a lot of pilots out there who fly recreationally. You don't need a license or anything for that, and they basically just figure it out, trial and error. But where possible, I would definitely suggest going to get a training or some type of hands-on flight operations course. There's just so much knowledge you don't even realize. Even if you're already a pilot with some years experience, there's always something you can learn from like someone who does it professionally, right?
Got it. So would a class like that be taken not like on a football field or a city park, or where did you learn?
Oh, so I recently just took a class at the local community college here. I just happened to be on LinkedIn, I think, and I saw that they were offering partnering with a local drone technology firm here, and went ahead and registered for the course, and it was a great experience. That particular course was 2 days, 8 to 5. I think that's the most that I've flown in one particular, span of time, right? First it was like, about 4 hours of in classroom instruction where you're kind of learning like the drone anatomy, um, all kind of hardware, the software, and just kind of getting that textbook obstacle avoidance type class or type knowledge. And then we went into the field and kind of flew around for about 4 hours, just switching out batteries. And,
I was going to say that's a lot of batteries.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Typical
Cool.
battery only
And that was
lasts you
probably
about.
fun. I mean, no pun intended, but a crash course like that would be probably super helpful,
All right. Hopefully, no crashes.
right? So is that how you first learned, or did you already kind of know your way around before that, or tell us about that?
So, so before that, I actually already knew my way around. So really just kind of going out into an empty field and practicing the controls. Depending on the type of drone you have, you can actually do a simulator on the computer or on the controller without taking the drone off into the sky. So I just kind of did a little bit of those and kind of felt my way around the controls like a video game.
Yeah, sure. So if you were to start all over again from scratch now, knowing what you know, is there something you would do different?
I'd probably get the hands-on instruction sooner. I think it just cut out a lot of guesswork and figuring stuff out on my own. And just that intensive too. With that particular course, they offered the drones for you, so they had a extensive amount of batteries. So you could just kind of keep playing around and really build that thumb dexterity to fly.
Interesting. So your fingers are awkward positions, kind of. Is it? Did your hands get tired from flying the drone?
They can cramp up a little bit depending on what you're doing. If you're really trying to like orbit around a particular target or anything like that, it really requires like good thumb dexterity and like holding that position perfectly, not hand tremors or anything like that. It'll kind of throw you off. So it takes a lot of concentration.
So how long have you been flying drones for at this point?
This point, I'd say about a year and a half. Yeah.
Cool. So you're an expert.
I wouldn't say an expert. Still a lot to
Sure.
learn.
Yeah. Well, cool. So thinking about that again, I mean, really, when in fact I'm in an event right now out here in the Dallas Fort Worth area, and they took a drone picture of everybody out on the Dallas Cowboys practice football field at this event, and this drone was circling, and it was interesting because I knew that we had this podcast recording, and all these people are talking about, oh, cool, I want to get a drone. And then some people, oh, we have a drone, but we don't use it. And I mean, it was just interesting, all of the different, buzz around the idea of drones. So I think it's fantastic that you've actually dug in and learned how to do this. And I've got to imagine when you're a little girl, you didn't always want to grow up and be a drone pilot. Is that right?
No, I can't say I did. I wanted to be an astronaut, so maybe that's kind of close a little bit.
Okay. Yeah, you're getting there. Baby steps, right?
Right.
So what is it? Is there something about your personality or about people that seem to have a knack for this, you think? Or are there traits that seem to be common among people that gravitate towards this or that are good at it that you've
I'd
noticed?
say Enthusiasm and passion for learning something new. You don't even really have to be, gung ho about aviation or drones, but if you're just really excited and passionate about technology and how that can work for your business or your company or whatever it is you're doing, that seems to be the common denominator amongst many different backgrounds and people that I've met in the industry so far.
Yeah. So are there, and I know this is a newer, I mean, I'm assuming it's a newer industry, so to speak. Are there events or resources that are becoming more common for people to continue to develop their skills in drone technology?
Definitely. I'm actually on the leadership board of the local chapter of AUVSI, which is the Association for Unmanned Vehicle Systems International. And we offer a lot of information out there regarding safety, legislation, and resources just for learning how to fly and connecting with other pilots out there. In addition to that, you also have local groups. Like I said, the drone community is growing, the industry is growing, and just about in every major city area, there's at least a good handful of pilots, and they probably have meetups regularly as well.
Yeah, I love that. And I know obviously flying a drone in the park or, out on a beach or somewhere for fun is a little different than on a job site. I mean, there's safety concerns and other things that you have to be aware of. It's a more professional environment, or at least it certainly should be. What are some of the differences that you've had to either learn about or grow to understand so that you can operate safely on a construction site?
Yeah, well, safety is definitely like the number one concern on a job site. And so flight over people, once you get the FAA license and everything, you understand that flying over people is not allowed. FAA regulations are changing that are allowing you to get waivers more readily in order to fly over people. But, just because you can get the waiver doesn't mean you should want to or have to. If you don't need to fly over people, then don't, right? So that's kind of like one of the number one concerns on a job site is because it's active, right? You've got people building things, so they're kind of everywhere. So a way to mitigate that is really flying on off hours if where possible. So whether it's like super early in the morning or later in the day, once everybody's gone home, possibly over the weekend if they're doing a typical Monday through Friday schedule. Even during lunch as well, while they're taking a break and there's less people on the job site. And for those cases where you do have to fly, where the construction site is active, you want to stay on the outside of the job site, where or like around the perimeter, so you won't have to actually fly over people.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. So obviously this process is still evolving. Probably the laws are changing. They're hopefully getting safer, and drones are coming out with better tools and things built within them for like you mentioned, the anti-collision stuff and other things that I think they seem to be safer than they were, when I started seeing them pop up 5 or 6 years ago. Would you say that's the case?
Definitely. Yeah. The drones that I fly now are all equipped with obstacle avoidance, which is great. You want to use that as a last resort, though. You as the pilot want to be more aware of your surroundings. But in the event that you're too close to an obstacle, that is a fail-safe where it will, stop in position with the drone. So there's definitely the technology is really advanced now.
Yeah. Cool. So what are some of the reasons that you're using drone footage today, and that your company or the companies that hire you are having you help them with your service?
Yeah, so there are lots of different things that you can do with a drone on a construction site in particular. I would say the main thing that I do are progress photos and videos. We'll use those for owner updates and internal updates. We'll also use them to track material, lay down yard usage, and just overall progress of the job site and the built condition. Other uses are 2D mapping. So we'll do what's called like an orthomosaic map, where it will the drone will fly in an autonomous flight path and then collect the data and then stitch together the photos in sequence to create a 2D map, essentially. So you think like Google Earth or Google Maps, Apple Maps, similar to that, but just in a localized area to your job site. You can also use a drone to generate existing topos as well. And so those are some of the uses that we use the drones for.
Wow, it sounds like not only an efficiency tool, but also a marketing tool. I mean, is your company using those? Are they using them for marketing quite a bit?
Yeah. Those drone videos, all that footage can be edited in videos that we do put out on, LinkedIn, social media, that kind of thing. Owners really love the videos, I've noticed, especially when you put like a nice little soundtrack in the background. They really love them.
Yeah. So how do you take these photos for progress? Is it just every so often, or do you have a schedule, or is it random? I mean, is there any kind of format?
It depends on the needs of the project. I've done some job sites where they wanted progress photos every week, usually around the same day, weather dependent. Some will want photos every month just to have that monthly aerial. And then some are like, every 2 months. But I would say the average is usually once a month.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I imagine these projects that are multiple years. I think monthly is probably pretty good. I would imagine.
Yeah.
And if they want something like time lapse, then that would be a mounted camera somewhere, I would imagine, and a drone isn't really the right tool for that. Is that right?
I would say so. Yeah, you would want to have a camera posted on the job site to do a time lapse. Although you can create those with drones as well. There are a lot of autonomous softwares out there that allow you to take the pictures at the same location, same elevation, same angle every single month. If you were to do that over the course of a year, say, you can then put those photos together into a time lapse video.
Wow. So it's using GPS technology to get the exact same angle as if the drone was mounted on a pole, so to speak?
Yes. Yep.
Wow. So what types of technology are you using for 3D modeling with drones?
So we can use the drone again with some of those softwares like Drone Deploy or Propeller or Pix4D. You can do a 3D modeling mission. So the drone will fly in a defined path and essentially just capture 3D images. And once it's stitched together, there's a 3D model towards the end. And you can use that it's really good for visualization. I would say I've done it only a handful of times, more so for existing buildings, just to kind of give the owner, the developer, a rough idea of a piece of property that they may be looking at.
Okay, so that's used more for maybe a building that was built before BIM technology and those tools were available. Would that be right?
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. I would say tools better suited for 3D modeling would maybe be like a laser scanner, actually just taking the handheld scanner out there and setting that up in various different areas.
So do you do walkthroughs inside of a building with drones ever for people remotely?
I've never done it personally. I've seen it done though. I would say you want to be careful with that just because drones generate a lot of wind, right? So if you're going through a building, that could kind of mess up your shot, right? So I would use maybe more like a 360 camera as opposed to a drone doing the fly through. Yeah, because you can mount that onto like a hard hat, for example, or just a pole and kind of ride that through. But I have seen people, fly a drone through a building towards the end for like final photography. Usually like a little smaller Mavic Mini or something like that.
Nice. So what kind of looks and responses do you get from reactions from people when you are out flying a drone on the job site?
I get a lot of stares. This is pretty funny. Well, one, it's funny because I'll be flying the drone and looking up and then you'll see someone walk by, and then they start looking up, and they look at you, and they look up, and they're just like, what is she, what's going on up there? But yeah, and usually when I'm landing, people are really intrigued. Some are a little weary of it because they're like, oh, is it going to hit me or or something like that. But I do get a lot of interest from other like construction workers and subcontractors on the job site about it.
Yeah. Are you seeing subcontractors and others using drones on those projects that maybe you're working for the GC on?
Yeah, I've seen site contractors use them quite a bit. Yeah, I imagine they use them for site analysis tools, similar to what I've done, where you can fly it for a mapping mission, for example, get some existing topos, and you can take that data and then do a cut fill analysis, and that can help you with your pricing and bidding.
Nice. So what's the craziest thing you've ever encountered while flying a drone out on a job site?
I had an issue with birds on one job site.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, they came close to attacking the drone. Thankfully they didn't. But I kind of noticed them. I would say like the week before I was finishing up a mission, and then I saw a couple of birds circling, and thought like, oh, okay, I need to be wary of birds. That's the first time I've seen them out here. And then sure enough, the next time I go out and, they get closer and closer and they're starting to like circle the drone. This was during one of those autonomous mapping missions. So the drone's kind of going not super fast, but at a steady speed and in different directions. So the birds are just kind of following the drone around. I ended up having to land and restart the mission on that one.
Oh, wow. Crazy stuff. I imagine if you keep doing this long enough, you're going to see some other crazy stuff, sure.
Yeah, I've seen videos of people getting their drones attacked by birds. I did learn something recently, too, that when you do run into birds, the best thing to do is to fly straight up, where my natural inclination is to go straight down. But birds can dive a lot faster than they can ascend, so it's better to just go straight up if there's any birds near your drone.
Good to know. Well, Keyona, obviously, I mean, switching the conversation up just a little bit, I mean, you've been in the construction industry for 5 years plus full time, and you're so much more than just a drone pilot, if we're going to put a label on something. What have you learned so far in your experience, and what's been fulfilling for you in your experience in the industry so far?
Yeah, so throughout my 5 years, I've had positions in operations, field management, office management, and now virtual design and construction. And I would say one of the best things is just having that service mentality and really being able to help the project team, help the owner, and really provide a valuable service.
I love that. That's great. I mean, yeah, I know we're talking mostly about drones, but it's like you've done really well in all these different parts of the construction trades and working for a company. And I think this is just sounds like another opportunity that you're making the most of, and seeing where it takes you. Do you plan to continue being a drone pilot operator, or doing something more or different as your career advances, or what are your thoughts there?
Oh, I definitely plan to keep up with piloting my drone and keeping up with the regulations and things as they change. I really like being involved in the community, teaching and helping others learn to fly and fly safe. It's a passion of mine for sure. So I don't think that's going to go anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, I like that you worded it that way. It's not just a hobby, right? It's a passion. That's a good term for it. I can see you enjoy it, and I can see why. So tell me this: how do you think your bosses have supported your career so far as you've advanced and done these different things? And what can you share with other women and other young people out there that are looking at starting a career in construction?
I would say that my leadership listens, right? They can see the passion that I have, and they were willing to take a chance and say, hey, you know what, go ahead. If this is, what you're really passionate about, let's help and equip you with the right tools to do this. And Yeah, that's really great leadership. Listening, I would say for other employers, really just believing in your employees and letting them show you what they can do. We're really capable of quite a bit if you give us that autonomy to try.
Yeah, I love that. I totally agree. I think a lot of times leadership again is more defined by allowing people to bring their great ideas in and execute on those. Not not having all the best ideas. That's not leadership, right?
All right.
So, are there some other ways that you're seeing in your company or your experience so far that they're leveraging young talent like yourself to help develop that for the future?
Definitely with the internships. I think recruiting the right people and bringing them in and having that internship pipeline is really beneficial. One, you're giving college students a real world opportunity to learn how to use what they're learning in the classroom and apply that. They're also coming in with really fresh new ideas and kind of stepping out the box. So giving them that voice as well.
Yeah, these young folks have grown up in a world full of this technology that was new to some of us 20 years. It didn't exist even 15 or 10 years ago. So I think you've got some great advice there for our leadership listeners and those that are in positions of authority to hire. So internships, listening to these young folks, giving them a platform and an opportunity to explore their ideas. And it sounds like you're making the most of those opportunities in your company right now. So that's cool. So tell me this. We recently we were recording an episode with a topic of mental health in the workplace. How do you think leaders can be more aware of this and help support individual team members that are having struggles with that?
I would say definitely creating a culture where it's okay to talk about those things. Um, I know it's September, so it's actually Suicide Prevention Month.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, which is it's something that my company has really touched on a lot, especially this past couple of weeks, even down to toolbox talks, right? So we actually talk to our trades out in the field and give that platform to talk about mental health and what we can do to better educate ourselves on the signs, so we can help and get people help sooner.
Are there signs that I don't know if you're seeing much of this struggle within your own organization or not, or within your industry peers that you affiliate with, but if so, what are some of the signs or things that you think are adding to this epidemic really that we're having in society in general?
Well, there's the pandemic definitely isn't helping. And the brief period where we're working from home and really the instability, right? As cases are climbing, people who may have gone back into the office now they're going back home, and it's just kind of nothing's really stable in some areas. So that's a added stressor there. So just being aware of that and what's going on in the industry, and just kind of taking that into effect when you're talking to your coworkers or when you're as leadership talking to your employees. Burnout is definitely another sign. When you see an employee who maybe was like super passionate in the beginning and then they kind of get quiet, that could be a sign there of that they may just be really overwhelmed, whether it's with work or anything in their personal life. It's just being one of those leadership or those bosses who takes time to just kind of notice that and just kind of ask your coworker, your employee, everything okay? Anything I can help you with?
Sounds like just being aware and then also being ready to listen. Love that. Have you experienced burnout so far in your young career at this point?
I have actually. Pretty sure I experienced my first burnout, I guess, probably in college, just engineering school in general. I think the most important thing for me to realize is something that may not go away and it's prone to happen again. So having that awareness that things can get a little too overwhelming sometimes. So having that support system in place to kind of help manage that, as opposed to thinking that it'll just, up and leave and go away and I'll be, fine. So.
Yeah, that's the old school mentality that, I mean, I was raised with that, and I can't even imagine my parents, rub some dirt on it, walk it off, you'll be fine, don't talk about it and it'll go away.
Right. I think sometimes, recognizing and leaning into that anxiety or that discomfort, it sometimes, takes that power away from it, right? Maybe you can sit here and say like, oh yeah, no, I'm really anxious about this one particular thing. And then it's like, well, kind of cat's out of the bag now. So you can kind of take that and lean into and move on to whatever it is you're doing with that discomfort, as opposed to just trying to get rid of it.
Yeah. Well, I think we all have a natural reaction too, when just as a greeting, when someone says, "Hey, how you doing?" You're like, "Oh, great." And sometimes you're not doing great, you're a train wreck, but you don't want to say that. So you don't. And then they think you're great, and then they move on, and you're still struggling. Right. So I think your point of being aware is really, I think, pretty wise advice for all of us.
Yeah. And even if some people may not feel comfortable being that person who can listen, they may think that, well, I'm not I'm not trained to be able to handle this particular person and mental health issues, so I don't want to be the person that they come and talk to. And that's okay, but leadership and companies can also offer resources and make sure that your employees know that they're out there. I was fortunate enough, I think, that my company had access to an app that kind of gives you like these mindful meditations on specific things, whether it's like public speaking or like airplane stress, and that's been really beneficial. It was actually part of our health plan, and I had no idea until we had our HR person came and did a presentation on it. I was like, oh, that's a great resource. I'll use that. So having those resources out there and making sure that your employees are aware of them.
Yeah, that's great. And I thank you for bringing that to the attention of myself and the listeners. I think a lot of us may not be aware of some of those things that are available to be taken advantage of. And we just need to talk about these things more and collaborate with our industry peers and our employees. Again, ask them how they're doing, and then listen, right? So I guess last thing on this topic. So what, if there was one takeaway that you would want the listeners to have from our conversation, what would it be?
I would say to give yourself the benefit of the doubt, just like you would your closest friend if they're struggling or going through something. You be your best friend and give yourself a break.
Oh, I love that. Cool. All right. Well, a couple other questions, more on a personal note. So, what's one thing in your life that you're grateful for professionally at this point in your career?
My coworkers. Yeah, I would say no matter what space I'm in or what professional setting or company that I'm with at that particular time, people are. I'm just really grateful for people. They really make your day and the experience just that much better.
Love it. So, Keyona, what is your superpower that you've developed so far?
So far, my superpower would be learning any type of technology. Yeah, and just to explain that further, just about anything can be figured out thanks to Google and YouTube.
Hey, good advice. more of us older generation need to remember that, right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. Well, thank you so much, Keyona. This was so much fun having this conversation. You're a fun guest and fun to talk to.
Yeah. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you for joining us today on the Mobile Workforce Podcast, sponsored by About Time Technologies and WorkMax. If you liked the conversation we had today, or were able to learn anything new or helpful, please make sure to follow us on our WorkMax page on LinkedIn and on Instagram at WorkMax_. And subscribe to the show on iTunes or your preferred podcast platform so you will never miss another insightful episode. Also, if you enjoyed the podcast, please leave us a 5-star rating and review and share the show with your friends and colleagues. Your support means the world to us and will allow us to continue providing impactful information with others looking to improve their results in their business and, in turn, their life.